Just having a little quiet time this morning with my coffee and just thinking about, how slow things are in the summer for us business wise and how tough it is paying my taxes, especially here in New York State. And then, of course, I read an article the other day that the New York City Council, okay, voted to give themselves another pay raise. They were making $148,000. Now they're paying themselves $175,000 a year for what, I don't care what they say, is a part-time job, okay? Now the New York State Assembly, who was making $142,000 a year, and by the way, they bumped themselves up quite a bit in 2022, they now saw this from the New York City Council, and they want to give themselves a pay raise because I already see them putting little trinkets out there in the news to kind of seed it, But that's not even the worst. If you look at, I wanted to see what big city council members make around the country. In Los Angeles, of all places where the city has gone to shit and they have a huge homeless problem, the city council makes $244,000 a year for a part-time job. It's disgusting. Something's got to change here. We've been saying it all these years. These people get into politics, local, federal, state, doesn't matter. They get into it to enrich themselves, even if that's not their original idea. First of all, they all cry about term limits, but nobody ever does anything. I think we need to have a law that says, I don't care if you're in local, federal, state, county, whatever the hell you're in, you should be limited to 2 terms. That's it. I don't care what your job is. If you're an elected official, you should not get any more than 2 terms, because at least maybe they'd get something done during their second term, because all they do is go out and try to get reelected once they are elected. That's why they say, oh, well, being an assembly member, that's not a part-time job because I'm out seeing my constituents all the time. Yeah, trying to get reelected. It's just, the older I get, the worse it seems to get, And let's face it, most of these people are on the take in some way. Like, even when they limit the amount of money, say for an assembly member, you can only make, I think in New York State, like up to $35,000 extra above your state income. Okay, well, first of all, with your state income, they have the greatest medical insurance. They get retirement benefits, even if they're in like 1 term, which is a friggin' joke, okay? So they have per diem stuff. They have all kinds of things. But if you say, oh, well, $35,000, that's not that much. Well, a lot of these people are lawyers and they have practices. So what they do is they pay themselves the $35,000 and then the rest goes into their S Corp or whatever, or they sign it over to their wife, or they start a second LLC and they don't take the money. Don't kid yourself. They're still making the money. It's all a big game. And these people in politics, they're just all about getting reelected, helping each other out, helping their cronies, their friends, their family. Half of them, they help their families get state jobs, federal jobs, open an NGO so they can live off the teat of the American taxpayer and have some nonprofit that doesn't seem to ever do anything except really pay the people at the top. It's disgusting. And, the other thing is, no politician should be able to vote themselves a pay raise. All pay raise votes should go to the people, because if you're going to do a good enough job, then maybe the people will give you a pay raise. But you can't allow this to happen anymore. People are struggling. For God's sake, the New York State Assembly gave themselves a fat pay raise in 2022. In really the middle of the whole COVID thing, when everybody else was struggling their asses off. People were losing jobs and businesses left and right. And these guys gave themselves a last-minute pay raise. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. They also shouldn't be able to invest like the U.S. Congress and people in the Senate. They shouldn't be able to have money in the stock market. They should have to get out of all that if they want to get into office so bad, because they get insider information and everybody knows it. And yet the worst kept secret in the world, and we allow it to go on. People joke about it. It's just disgusting, you know? And just to see how many people are suffering now. And it's funny, I'm in New York State where we have, first of all, supermajority Democrats, but a lot of Democrat socialists. Well, the so-called socialists are the first ones to vote themselves pay raises. The first ones to say abolish the police, but we need our own security and protection. It's so disgusting. And it's not just them, it's both sides. The conservatives are just as bad. Everybody's just as bad because politics, for some reason, draws the worst of us. I'm sorry, and you can complain all day to me about it, but it does. It draws the worst type of people. Oh, are there a few good ones who get into politics and hope they can make a difference? I'm sure there are. But for the most part, it draws people who want power, money, people who they don't really get into it because they care. They get into it because they want the power of running things and telling people what to do. It's disgusting. You know, I'm 61 years old now, and nothing's gotten better. It's just gotten worse. Even like you look at Los Angeles, they have one of the worst homeless problems in the world, but their city council pays themselves $244,000 a year. Are you kidding me? That's disgusting. On top of it, I read an article recently that the LA Council, they want to start meeting, I think, once a week instead of 3 times a week or so. They want to meet less, but they want to make $250,000 a year. I mean, come on. Something's got to give here. Something's got to change. We definitely need some kind of a broad term limit law that covers local, county, state, and federal that says you cannot be in elected office for more than 2 years, period. If you want to be in elected office more than 2 years, then you have to run for a different office, okay? And then you get 2 years there. That would solve a lot of the problems. Of course, all these politicians say, oh, but then we couldn't get our job done because we're just learning the system after the first couple of years. Yeah, the system of how to get paid, the system of how to get bribed, the system of how to get by on the taxpayers. That's the system they're learning. There's no way we can fix it unless we really change the law as far as term limits. And as far as voting yourself a pay raise, that shouldn't be allowed either. So that's really 2 things that we could do that would fix a lot, but you're never going to fix human nature. And unfortunately, basic human nature for, I would say, probably 7 out of 10 people cannot be trusted with power. I could even be low on that figure because they just can't. They get a taste of the power, they get a taste of the money, the greed kicks in, and human nature takes over. And then what you have is really a bunch of crooked people running the government. I feel really sorry for the young people today because it's definitely not going to change. And the more that you see, I don't blame them for looking at socialism and things like that because they don't really even know what socialism really is. They know the idea of, what they think socialism is. But you go to socialist countries and it's even more corrupt. It's even worse. I just think the problem is human nature, and I do think that politics really does, it draws the worst of the worst. Because people that really care or people that are really busy doing something productive, they're already out there doing it. Okay? There's a lot of people out there just doing their own thing, helping nonprofits and helping people on the street, going to homeless shelters, doing that, and they're not getting paid. That's the difference between them and politicians. And I don't know. I don't have any other solutions, but I would like to see a 2-term limit law covering all state, local, federal, county politicians, period. You shouldn't be in more than 2 terms, no matter who you are. And that goes with every elected position, seriously. We have to stop the bleeding on this shit, and we have to stop it now. They think we're a joke while they live off the so-called teat of the American taxpayer. And anyway, that's what I was thinking about this morning. And I don't have a magic wand. I don't have any power. But I really wish we could come up with a term limit law across the board. And I really wish we could come up with a law that says you cannot vote yourself a pay raise, and nobody in office can vote you a pay raise. It has to be done by the people. That's the way it should be, but it probably will never be. So here we are. God bless y'all. God bless America. And please, if you like this video, subscribe, hit the like button below, help me grow this channel. And please comment away. Maybe some of you agree with me, maybe some of you don't. Maybe you all think I'm crazy, but love to see your comments, and appreciate you watching. Take care.